My name is Kehinde Ogundinmu. I would say I'm a finance professional, though I didn't always start out as finance. I read engineering in college, and then I started my career with Pricewaterhouse, where I trained to be a chartered accountant. I left Pricewaterhouse to join Chevron, Texaco Overseas, then now Chevron, as a joint venture accountant, and then left there, moved to the US, joined Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, and then Capital One Bank. And then when NMRC was being set up about 10 years ago, I came back to assume the position of Chief Financial Officer and Executive Director. And then after a few years, I became the MD. So I've been in both banking, oil and gas, financial services, anything finance. That's been my career trajectory up until I assumed this role. Yeah, so my philosophy is always to make things better than I meet them in any organization, be that Pricewaterhouse, at Chevron, Fannie Mae, Capital One Bank. At Chevron in 2000 specifically, I was given an award as Employee of the Year just because of the improvements that we were able to make in financial reporting for the joint venture, cash call accounting and all of that stuff. So we got that award. Several awards also at Fannie Mae because of what we did in also streamlining reporting process for debt and derivatives. And then when I was at Capital One Bank, I was involved in the implementation of a system called Murex, which is a derivatives accounting and hedging system. So we also got an award for timely implementation and all of that. And then since I've been at Nigeria Mortgage Refinance Company, we've also won several awards. But it's a collective thing, not me, it's the organization now. We won an award as the most innovative company. I think that was in 2015 in terms of technology. We've won an award from FMDQ. That was from Business Day. We've won an award from FMDQ about our compliance. We've won an award from Shelter Freak, and several other awards that, just speaks to the things that we're trying to do to make mortgages available in Nigeria. So several awards for the organization. And we look forward to more, but not just getting the awards, but making meaningful impact in the society and making people get into their own homes. So I think one of the special stories which sits right into our core mandate of making housing available to Nigerians is what we were able to do in Ogun State. So there was a housing project, and there were about 200 civil servants that needed to get housing, so we needed to get the money to them at the cheapest rate. So it wasn't just NMRC, but it was collaboration with Gateway Mortgage Bank. We sourced money from the debt capital market, raised it at a cheap rate, and both ourselves and the organization that we partner with Gateway Mortgage Bank, agreed to take the barest minimum in terms of spread or income that we can. So we almost passed the money through to the ultimate beneficiary, which are the mortgagors, at rates that were very, very low. So we're able to provide housing for almost 200 million families, individual houses, at rates that were substantially below what they would have gotten anywhere. So, that's generational wealth that we have created there, making people own homes, and in the next few years, they will have paid back. So I felt for an organization like NMRC, we had a very good partner to work with. And then the transmission mechanism of all the gains went straight to the ultimate mortgager. So that's something I'm proud of what we have done at NMRC. And I hope we'll be able to do more in other places in Nigeria, other communities, so that we can get a lot of people into their own homes and make them homeowners. So within the housing ecosystem, or the finance aspect of the housing ecosystem, there are those that you call the primary market makers or primary market originators. So those are the commercial banks, the mortgage banks, and all those in the banking space that interface directly with the individual. So a customer can go to them and say, I want to take a mortgage and all of that. So they play in the secondary market, in the primary market. We are secondary mortgage players. So they are like retailers, we are wholesalers. So while individuals deal with banks, trying to get a loan from the banks to get their mortgages, we provide liquidity to banks. So So we use banks to get to individuals. So we are wholesalers providing money to banks, with the monies or the funds that the banks get, they now give to individuals to take up mortgage. So our role is essentially getting long-term funding from the capital market, giving it to banks, mortgage and commercial banks, and then they then on lend to individuals. So we are wholesalers, they are retailers, and then the ultimate beneficiaries are the individuals in Nigeria who get homes from them. The thing is, number one, I think this is a very good platform for us even to get the message across. Most Nigerians do not even know what mortgage is. And the few that know have had maybe bad experiences in the past, so they think it's something that is not good. And even culturally, because we're not a credit culture, we don't like even borrowing, even when it is the best way to do things. So because of those misconceptions, people don't know. In fact, some people will ask you, do mortgages exist in Nigeria? Just because of the past, But I want to tell people that yes, mortgages now exist in Nigeria. And people used to get mortgage for 5 years, for 10, 5 years or 7 years at best, that's the tenor. Now they can get up to 20 years or even 25 years. So mortgages exist and the rates are fixed now. In the past, you could get a mortgage because it was from short-term funding that they were funding it. When rates increase, they will increase it. So you see people now, they got discouraged and say, oh, when I came in, maybe the rate was 12%. Now it's 20. What is happening? This is a scam and all of that. So those are the past experiences. But now when you get a mortgage, rate is fixed, especially if it is an NMRC's mortgage, And then you can prepay without penalty. Say maybe after 5 years you win a lottery or you get another source of income and you want to pay it down faster, you can always do that. So the things that discourage people from getting mortgages are no longer there. And most importantly, in an inflationary environment like ours, people also know that it is better to get things now, before the price increases. And mortgage is the only thing that gives you that opportunity of getting an asset now before it increases in price when it may be unaffordable. So it provides a veritable protection against inflation. And so people should try and embrace mortgages. So number one is the fact that you get to enjoy the benefits on time. If you were to go in and start building a house, say I want to start with acquiring the land, building a foundation and all of that, it may take you 10 years, it may take you 5 years. That is using your own funding. Mortgages let you get into the house faster and it begins to appreciate, And, you will always see that once you get a mortgage, because of the people who are giving funding to you, the quality of the house is also superior because no bank will lend the money to you on something that is substandard because they want the house to last longer. So the fact that something is going to go through a mortgage means that there will be a lot of quality checks even on the product itself. So you are sure that this kind of house that you are going into is something that will survive tens or even hundreds of years and things like that. Also the generational benefit, generational wealth creation that happens, Once you get a home, you become more settled, the children go to bed, get better education. You are bringing wealth because you are paying down something that is appreciating. It's not just rent that you are paying and you are not getting anything. So you are gradually you own the home and you are paying it down over time. And so I think just embracing mortgage because of the benefits and the job opportunities that it creates, the tax to government and all of that, these are the benefits that comes with, even though you are the one taking mortgage at the end, you have also helped to create a lot of value across the entire value chain from land administration to assembly to construction and all of that. So it's something that drives wealth creation, generational wealth creation, and people should embrace it. You get the house faster, the house begins to appreciate, and because it's always leveraged, so all the gains come to you as the owner, you understand? So I bought a house now, it's maybe 10 million naira. If it appreciates to 20 million, the 10 million gain is to me, the owner of the house, even though I'm paying down just the first 10 million. So because of that leverage that you have, it's the only asset that is real, and then you can have meaningful leverage to amplify the profit that you will get. So a lot of benefits towards getting mortgage and paying down on time. Yeah. So that's a very good question. It's a market that we're trying to build. As I said, maybe the market was non-existent, but we're trying to build something now. And what we're trying to do is we're looking at what are the barriers to home ownership. The basic one is the high interest rate. So NMRC is working with different development finance institutions to see how we can blend funds. So if we get money from source A, maybe the capital market? Can we get something cheaper from another person, another institution, so that when we combine the two funds, it becomes cheaper and then becomes something that is affordable to Nigerians. So we're working to reducing the mortgage interest rate for Nigerians through blended fund. We have also done a lot of things in terms of increasing the tenor of the loan so that it becomes, instead of you paying over a shorter period of time, you can now pay over a longer period of time, becomes more affordable. So we're attacking both the tenure of the loan, the interest rate. We're also playing a major role in advocacy for reducing the cost of home ownership, including like title perfection, the time it takes, the amount it takes to do title perfection, the amount it takes to do transfers and things like that. So anything that is a major impediment to getting into a home, we're trying to make sure that we remove those impediments, make them more efficient, make them cheaper, so that you can increase the velocity of the transactions in that space and make it something that is really, everywhere in the world, including Nigeria, one of the things that you have with real estate is just liquidity. It's not as liquid as any other thing. So we want to make it as liquid as it is in other places. Then you're not only looking at the primary market, you're also now looking at the secondary market. So I know if I get a house, if I need to sell it, I can sell it quickly in the next maybe 2-3 months or 4 months and things like that. That encourages you now to say, okay, I want to move up, I want to step down. As people grow in their career, they move up, they move to bigger houses, but then you get to when you are becoming an empty nester and then you want to step down, maybe your children are now all married and all of that. You also want to be, so it's not, our focus is not just creating that initial primary market, but also now seeing how do you also create the secondary market so that it makes it easy to get in and out of the mortgage, of the housing market. So the housing deficit is huge, and NMRC cannot do that alone. So it's more of partnership, So we're partnering with every organization. Number one is first that we need to dimension even the problem, what's the magnitude of housing? Where are these deficits? Because you have deficits in the urban areas, you might not necessarily have deficits in the rural areas where people are able to just build something quickly. So NMRC has been working with the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development on the National Housing Initiative to get a housing data. You can't even solve a problem if you don't know what the problem is and the magnitude. So we are co-leading that initiative where we are now working with the National Population Commission, National Bureau of Statistics, the Central Bank, and other agencies and private institutions, trying to say, okay, this is the data that we need so that policymakers can then make informed decisions. So we are championing that, just saying, what's the issue? How do we solve the problem? Who are those who need to provide the solutions and things like that? So we're working. We're also working on other initiatives like the mortgage administration law to make mortgages easy. What's the process of acquiring land? What's the process of registering land? So we're working with various states, to make that law available in those states, in many states, in all states of Nigeria, so that mortgage transactions become something that is easy and very affordable to consummate. That's a very good question, and I think it's even more apt in this current situation where the Gen Zs and the millennials, things are dynamic, people are moving jobs, they change careers and all of that. To be honest, I think, I remember when I was growing up in secondary school, maybe Form 1, Form 2 and things like that, because I used to go with my dad to a bank. I hoped one day that I would work in a bank, But by the time I got to Form 5, it was sciences and all of that we were into. So I felt, okay, I liked architecture or engineering. And then eventually I got into architecture at University of Ibadan. And then after a year, they said, that we should move to Ife or Lagos to continue architecture, change to engineering. And so I changed to electrical engineering at University of Ibadan. I eventually finished as an electrical engineer, hoping that I would work with NEPA or something, But then I got out and then I went into Pricewaterhouse, a career change, and then I became a chartered accountant. And then from there, I now eventually ended up with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac in the US, and got into mortgage. And then I left mortgage and went into banking with Capital One Bank, and then I'm back to mortgage. So it's not as if it's a deliberate plan that I had, from day one that I will be into mortgage banking. I thought of being an engineer, I thought of being an architect, I thought of being... So I think what is key is being adaptable and agile, just looking at what's the changing landscape and how can you adapt to it. So I'll say mine has been more of adaptability, God's divine intervention or direction and things like that, and then agility, So I think and it's more apparent now. Our fathers worked for 30 years and retired with the same company. That's no longer the case now. People are working short term and moving and things like that. So I think the most important thing is just being adaptable and agile and just looking at the trend where the world is going and things like that, and then you make sure that you are the best at what you are doing, putting your best, you might necessarily be the best. There might be other people that are better than you, but at least putting your own very best, and then hard work, tenacity, dedication, and then you just keep rolling on. Yeah. So when I was in the US, I worked for the biggest secondary mortgage player in the world, Fannie Mae, and I saw the impact that mortgages has on the economy of a nation, on the wealth of a nation, on the wealth of the individuals and things like that. And I remember telling one of my bosses then that I hope someday we'll have something like that in Nigeria, just because of the impact that housing finance, at one point in time, and I believe even up to now, maybe the housing sector contributes about 25% of the GDP of an advanced country. So I just felt that's one of the easiest ways that we can boost things in Nigeria, make lives better, make revenues to government better, make people better, just generally improving the quality of living. And so when the opportunity came to also start to replicate something like that in Nigeria, it was something that we couldn't resist, So I still believe that we're still scratching the surface, but at least we have started, which is the good thing. And I believe that we're closer to than when we were 10 years ago. So I just believe that it's the right thing, to put the nation on that path of sustainable growth and then just wealth creation for individuals and families. It creates stability, it creates employment. The benefits are just enormous. And that's why I think we love what we are doing, and we hope that people will begin to see that benefit in what we are doing. So our vision is more of making it more inclusive, making it more sustainable, and then just supporting people. So when I say inclusive, we want more people, in the informal sector, women-led homes or women in general, we want that inclusion, We're also looking at, where home ownership becomes greener, and more sustainable. Energy usage comes down, because on the long run, those things might look as they're cheaper to maintain and they last longer and things like that. Initially, the cost might be higher. So we're looking at that and saying, can we now begin, even though we don't have enough homes, but even the ones that we are building, can we make them more resilient to climate? Can we make them more energy efficient because of the benefits that they have? Can we also make it more inclusive, so that, like I said, women, the informal sector, or those where it's difficult to access their credits, but they have some stable income, how do we get them into home ownership? So that's our vision, more inclusive, more sustainable, and then just providing the necessary support. And then people now beginning to realize the benefit of home ownership, that, okay, it's an asset class that is disposable when you want to dispose it. It's an asset class that you can leverage to get into other businesses, so maybe home equity line of credit. So I already have a home, I have some equity in it, but I need to start another business. Can I tap into that to start another business and then begin to have that multiplier effect on the society? So we're looking to how to broaden and make it more viable to Nigerians and more inclusive. So education is one, which you have said, financial literacy, and I think everybody needs to know that. So I always tell people 2 things will affect you in life: finance or health. Whether you are interested in them or not, you'll be affected by them. So it's good at least to have an idea. Even just no matter the business you are doing, no matter what you are doing, do I know my income? Do I know my expenses and things like that? So financial literacy is one. And I think also the macro stability of the environment. Mortgages thrive when rates are low, when inflation is low and things like that. So that's another challenge. But I'm glad that the government is beginning to address some of those things. They may take time, but at least we are beginning to address them to ensure that we have a stable macroeconomic environment. Once you have that stable macroeconomic environment, people have jobs and things like that, then it's easier now to see that fruition of the ideas and the lofty things we have. So education is one, but more importantly, macro stability, full employment and things like that will also make it more. And also to become more productive as a nation so that we don't depend more on things from outside. We begin to create things from inside. By the time we are producing, we create more job opportunities within the country, and then it just makes things better for the economy, and then becomes more stable and more prosperous for everyone. So our vision for the next 5 years is, now we focus strictly on maybe the demand side, about reducing rates through blended finance and all of that. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we now have to look holistically at even playing some catalytic role in maybe the supply side, So yes, we can talk about mortgages, but if the houses are not there, then it becomes difficult. So, but because of regulation, but I'm sure that regulations will change, we should be able to play some catalytic role in those areas, We're also looking at democratizing home ownership, You hear about tokenization and things like that. How can we bring in group home ownership, where it's not, maybe it's difficult for one person to have a home, but can we bring in 5 people together and then they own aspects of the homes, so they get into that home first and then they're able now to buy the second one, they're able to, so incremental, those are the things, so making it more democratic for people to at least get in so that they can begin to reap the benefits of home ownership, even though they don't own the entirety of the houses. So those are the kind of things we're looking at in the next 5 years. Intervening not just on the demand side, but along the value chain to make sure that we have that constant supply of the right houses at the right places and all of that, and then even making it more democratic so that people can have some share, even if you don't own the entire thing. You have 20% today, and then it increases to 40, and then so things like that. And there are technologies now to be able to do that, to help us to get to that level of incremental home ownership. So I think for any industry, the principles are almost the same. Number one is integrity and ethics, So you must be a person of integrity, strive to always tell the truth, always do the right things, ethics and integrity. The next one is just continuous learning, So whether you're into photography, into cinematography, whatever you are into finance, you have to make sure that you're always developing your skills, what are the trends and things like that, and then building the right connections. You need a network of people. It's just not you. Do I have the right people so that at least you are getting an idea, of what the trends are and things like that. So you need that. You also need to know how to manage risk, there's risk in every profession, so how do I mitigate this risk? Some you can take, some you might be able to pass through insurance, some you might, So those are the necessary things, but most importantly is being a person of integrity and moral ethical standards, and then continuous improvement in knowledge, just trying to say, okay, how do I become more grounded? Then building the ecosystem network, we all work together, partnership, and then, another one which I think is very critical is just customer and stakeholder focus. So you must know who your customers are, you must know who your stakeholders are, and then so that you are developing solutions that addresses their needs and things like that. So customer focused, stakeholder focus, very critical. Continuous knowledge acquisition and improvement, and then risk management. I think with that, in any profession, I think we'll all do well. One thing I want people to understand about mortgage is that it is the only proven way globally, in China, in America, anywhere in the world, of acquiring home and building generational wealth. There are other ways, but the one that is universally proven, and doesn't need you to be an inventor, it's just, so I think people should embrace mortgages when the rates are fixed and when the rates are low. So I want to put that caveat there. If the rates are 50%, I don't want you to say you want to take mortgage, you get what I'm saying? But mortgages is the only proven thing for people to get into home ownership. There are other methods. I'm not saying that, so you could do incremental building, you could do rent to home, there's so many other things, but universally has been proven. And the thing about housing is that housing is local, so we also have to tailor solutions to what we'll obtain in the local environment. So we'll see what works in Nigeria. Mortgages might work for some, it might not work for some, but globally, mortgages has been proven. So if it's worked everywhere, what do we need now to tweak within our system to make it work for us? So I think that's where we need to just work more to make sure that we make the environment right for mortgages to work in Nigeria, and also provide other alternatives to mortgages. So as I said, it's not the only solution. I said it's only globally proven solutions, but there are also other solutions that can work. And we need to develop such for Nigeria. Maybe it's housing microfinance that we do in Nigeria. Maybe it's just incremental home ownership. Maybe it's group home ownership and all of that. And I think if we all just come together, knowing that we have a big problem within us. So it's not an individual organization. It's not an individual that will solve this problem, but we need collaboration. I think we'll be fine as a nation.